This is podcast psychology. You've likely felt it, right?
Yeah.
That sort of constant hum in our culture, the one telling us that, being in a relationship is the ultimate goal, the peak.
Yeah, the supposed fast track to happiness. It's
Yeah,
everywhere.
exactly. But what if? What if taking a different path, like consciously choosing solitude, wasn't just hitting pause? What if it was actually a really powerful way for you to figure out who you truly are?
Mm. That's precisely the territory we're getting into today. A really fascinating deep dive, actually. We're looking at the ideas of Carl Jung, who really emphasized that inner journey, the self-discovery that happens away from all those external pressures.
Yeah, he thought it was fundamental,
Yeah.
absolutely foundational for, a truly rich life.
And for Jung, this wasn't just some abstract concept, was it?
Not at all. He saw this whole process, getting to know yourself in solitude, as completely essential. Essential for developing a real, authentic sense of self. So our mission today, really, is to explore why, from Jung's perspective, choosing to be single, or at least carving out significant time alone, can be so beneficial for you.
And right at the heart of this is Jung's concept of individuation. Could you maybe start us off by unpacking that a little? What does that journey actually look like?
Okay, yeah, individuation. So Jung described it as this lifelong thing, unique to each person. It's basically your journey of discovering and, importantly, integrating all the different parts of yourself.
All the parts.
Yeah, the good stuff, the strengths, but also the weaknesses, the desires, even the bits we kind of push down or hide. What do you call the shadow?
Ah, the shadow aspect. Right.
It's all about building this inner unity, a solid core, really, a foundation for how you then interact with the world.
What's really striking is Jung's insight into how easily that journey, that very personal process, can get, well, sidetracked by outside expectations.
Definitely.
And romantic relationships, well, they often play a huge role there, don't they, with all their dynamics?
Oh, absolutely. Our culture puts relationships on such a pedestal, makes them seem like the ultimate achievement.
The end goal.
Yeah. And because that message is so strong, people can sometimes rush into partnerships, maybe before they have a really solid sense of their own individual self. And Jung warned about that. He saw it leading to a kind of emotional dependency, where you might actually lose touch with your own identity because you're so wrapped up in the other person.
Right, becoming almost like a reflection of the relationship, not a whole person in it.
Exactly. Jung had this great analogy for it, didn't he? The tree.
He did. It's a powerful one.
Yeah, he compared our sense of self to a tree's root system, deep roots.
Okay.
And without those strong roots, which for Jung are grown in that time spent understanding ourselves, often alone the tree, or you, can't really thrive, can't withstand life's storms.
So that solitude, that chosen time alone, is where you cultivate those roots.
Precisely. It's the grounding work. And there's a good example that illustrates this, right?
Yeah, think about someone who maybe steps back from dating after a few relationships, didn't quite feel right. They consciously decide, okay, time for me.
Right.
And in that space, maybe they rediscover something they loved. But let's slide. Let's say photography.
Okay, photography.
It's not just a hobby, though. It becomes a tool, almost. A way to explore their inner world, their feelings, how they see things uniquely.
Ah, so it's self-exploration through the activity.
Exactly. And that deepens their sense of self, strengthens that core. So if or when they enter another relationship later, it's from a place of being more grounded, more self-aware.
Less fear of getting lost in it all.
Right. So individuation isn't about shutting yourself off. It's about building that strong inner self so that you can have more authentic, meaningful connections later, knowing yourself first.
Makes perfect sense. Laying the groundwork. Now, another big piece of this is tackling just how deep that cultural story runs, the one that says happiness only comes from being coupled up.
Oh, it's everywhere, isn't it? From childhood fairy tales where happily ever after always means finding a prince or princess.
Always.
Right through to, well, pretty much all adult media. Movies, songs, social media feeds. It's relentless.
And it's not just the big, loud messages. It's the subtle stuff, too. Those little nudges from family or friends.
So, anyone special yet? Or when you gonna settle down? Question.
Or even the more pointed things like,
Yeah.
maybe you're just being too picky, implying you're the problem for being single.
Yeah, that judgment. And it's interesting how those pressures can actually push people into seeking partners just to well, meet those expectations, to tick a box.
Rather than following their own genuine desire or readiness for that kind of connection.
Exactly. It becomes about fulfilling a societal role instead
Okay.
of an inner need.
And then you've got all those romantic myths layered on top, like the whole other half idea.
Oh, the you complete me
Yeah.
narrative.
Right, as if you're somehow incomplete on your own. Which, when you think about it, is kind of undermining, isn't it?
Yeah.
It chips away at your sense of wholeness.
Definitely. And a key point here is that if you haven't found a sense of peace or wholeness within yourself first,
Mhm.
no external relationship, however wonderful it might seem on the surface, is going to magically fill that gap for you.
That's such a crucial insight for you to hold on to. And this is exactly where choosing to be alone, even for a specific period, becomes so powerful.
It gives you breathing room.
Yeah, it gives you that space. The space to actually question these beliefs, challenge the narratives you've absorbed, and really start valuing your own independence, your self-reliance.
Which brings us nicely to the opportunities that solitude itself can offer. Because it often gets such a bad rap, right? Seen as lonely or lacking.
Totally. But viewed differently, choosing solitude isn't weakness at all. It can be a real act of strength, a conscious choice you make.
A positive choice.
It's about giving yourself these incredibly valuable resources: time, space, and focused attention, just for you. It creates the ideal conditions for that deep self-reflection we mentioned.
And when you're not constantly negotiating life with a partner, every decision, every quiet moment, it forces you, in a good way, to confront yourself.
Yeah. How so?
Well, you come face to face with what you truly want, what you aspire to, without needing to filter it through someone else's perspective or needs first. It clarifies things.
That makes sense. And we see examples of what can bloom in that space, don't we?
We do. People rediscover old passions. Maybe they dive headfirst into building a career that truly excites them, or perhaps they just cultivate a much deeper sense of inner quiet and peace.
It's the freedom to explore what really lights you up without compromise.
And another big benefit is the impact on self-esteem.
How does that work?
Well, when you learn to value yourself as a whole person, complete on your own, not needing validation from a partner to feel worthy, that builds a really solid foundation of confidence.
A confidence that comes from within, not from someone else.
Precisely. And that internal strength then changes how you approach future relationships. You move away from dependency
Right.
towards connection based on balance and respect, not neediness.
It's like developing an inner true north. And that self-awareness, the kind you cultivate in solitude, it acts like a shield, doesn't it, against unhealthy dynamics.
It really does. You get much better at spotting red flags because you're not desperately looking for someone to complete you or fix something inside you.
Are already whole.
Exactly. So solo life, when chosen consciously, becomes this potentially transformative phase. Maybe not always easy, sure, but incredibly rewarding. It teaches you that inherent wholeness, that you are enough just as you are.
Okay, but let's be real. Some people listening might hear all this and think, yeah, but, they might feel skeptical. We're just so conditioned to see relationships as the ultimate prize.
And that skepticism is completely understandable, totally valid. Given the cultural conditioning, personal experiences, it makes sense. So it's really important to stress the point here isn't to tear down romantic relationships. Not at all. They absolutely can bring incredible joy, support, and growth.
Of course, we're not denying that.
The key idea, going back to Jung, is his quote, "The most important encounters are the ones we have with ourselves."
That self-encounter first.
Yes, that solid sense of self, that inner knowing, it's almost like a prerequisite for truly healthy, fulfilling connections with others.
Okay, so it's foundational. What about the criticism that choosing to be alone is, I don't know, selfish? Or maybe just running away from intimacy?
Right, that comes up. But often it's the opposite, wouldn't you say? It takes genuine courage to turn inward,
Sure.
to face your own stuff, your shadows, your flaws, and work on understanding and integrating them. It's not about hiding. It's about preparing for deeper connection.
Preparing yourself for connection, not running from it.
Exactly. And for anyone listening who feels maybe a bit scared by the idea of solitude, it's worth remembering it doesn't have to be forever.
Good point.
It can absolutely be a temporary phase, a really valuable period for growth before you decide to re-engage in partnership, if that's what you want.
So it's about shifting perspective. Seeing solo life not as like a waiting room,
Or a failure.
yeah, or a failure or a consolation prize, but seeing it as an active, dynamic stage in your life.
An opportunity.
Right, a chance to really zero in on your values, chase those dreams, maybe take some risks you wouldn't otherwise, even reinvent yourself a bit, free from the expectations that can sometimes come with partnership.
And ultimately, that self-love, the kind that's really nurtured and deepened when you spend quality time with yourself,
Hmm.
that allows you to love others more healthily without smothering expectations or clinging dependencies.
Leading to more balanced relationship.
Exactly. Relationships built on respect, real connection, and appreciating the other person as a separate, whole individual, just like you.
Okay, so wrapping this up for you, our listener. Choosing to be alone, choosing solitude,
Mm.
can be an incredibly powerful move. A conscious decision to prioritize understanding yourself, transforming yourself,
It's a way of affirming your own worth, recognizing that the most important relationship you have,
is the one with yourself.
precisely. Which leads to a pretty big question for you to reflect on.
What's that?
Are you truly ready to fully embrace and love yourself just as you are before you dive deep into loving someone else?
Hmm, that's something to really sit with. And if this deep dive into Jung's ideas has sparked something in you, if you're curious to learn more,
Yeah, exploring Jung's own work is highly recommended. Books like Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious
yeah,
or the very deep Red Book
they offer some really profound insights, don't they, into the human soul, that whole individuation journey we talked about.
definitely powerful resources for deepening your self-understanding, for that lifelong process of becoming.
So as you go about your day, maybe just take a moment. Consider, what does your relationship with you actually look like right now? And what amazing potential might be waiting to be unlocked if you gave that relationship the focus and care it truly deserves?